There is something fascinating about certain people who seem gentle on the surface, yet possess a strength that cannot be measured by status, physical power, or social influence. They move quietly through the world, they rarely demand attention, they often spend more time listening than speaking, and because of this, they are frequently underestimated. But some forces in nature are not loud. The ocean does not announce its depth. The roots of a great tree do not advertise their strength, and the most transformative people often carry their power in silence. Among personality types, the INFJ empath is often described as sensitive, intuitive, and deeply emotional. Yet, those descriptions barely scratch the surface. What makes this personality remarkable is not merely its capacity to feel. It is the rare ability to transform feeling into wisdom, suffering into growth, and insight into action. Many people assume that empathy makes a person vulnerable, but true empathy, when combined with self-awareness, becomes one of the most formidable forces a human being can possess. The first rare trait is the ability to see beneath appearances. Most people interact with masks. They respond to the personality someone presents to the world. The INFJ instinctively searches for what exists underneath. They can often sense unspoken emotions, hidden fears, and silent conflicts long before those realities become visible. This is not magic. It is the result of profound observation. While others are distracted by words, the INFJ notices tone. While others focus on behavior, they notice motivation. While others judge actions, they seek understanding. This ability allows them to navigate human complexity with unusual precision. The second trait is their relationship with solitude. Many people fear being alone because silence forces them to confront themselves. The INFJ often enters solitude willingly, not because they dislike people, but because solitude becomes a sacred place of renewal. It is where they process emotions, examine experiences, and reconnect with their inner compass. Like a traveler studying the stars before continuing a long journey, they return to silence to remember who they are. And in a world addicted to noise, this ability becomes a source of extraordinary clarity. The third trait is emotional resilience disguised as sensitivity. Outsiders often mistake sensitivity for weakness. Yet sensitivity means feeling life more deeply. And anyone who continues to love, trust, and hope, despite experiencing disappointment, develops a unique kind of strength. The INFJ frequently carries wounds others never see. They have known misunderstanding. They have experienced loneliness even in crowded rooms. They have given their hearts to people who could not fully understand them. Yet they continue moving forward, not because they are unhurt, but because they have learned how to transform pain into wisdom. The fourth trait is an unwavering commitment to authenticity. The INFJ often feels uncomfortable living behind social masks. They crave genuine connection. Surface-level interactions rarely satisfy them. They want conversations that explore dreams, fears, purpose, and meaning. This desire for authenticity creates both challenges and gifts. It may limit how many people truly understand them, but it also ensures that the relationships they build are often rooted in depth rather than convenience. The fifth trait is visionary thinking. Many people focus primarily on what exists today. The INFJ naturally imagines what could exist tomorrow. They see patterns where others see isolated events. They recognize possibilities hidden beneath current circumstances. This gift allows them to inspire change long before others recognize the need for it. Every meaningful transformation begins with someone capable of imagining a different future. The INFJ often carries that vision quietly within. The sixth trait is moral courage. Courage is commonly associated with physical action. But there is another kind of courage, the courage to remain loyal to your values when compromise would be easier. The courage to speak truth when silence feels safer. The courage to walk away from environments that slowly diminish your spirit. The INFJ possesses this strength more often than people realize. Their principles are not decorative beliefs. They are foundations, and when those foundations are threatened, remarkable resolve emerges. The seventh trait is their ability to understand contradictions. Human beings are rarely simple. A person can be kind and flawed, confident and insecure, strong and afraid. The INFJ understands this complexity. Rather than dividing people into heroes and villains, they recognize that every individual contains both light and shadow. This perspective creates compassion without naivety, understanding without blindness, acceptance without surrendering discernment. The eighth trait is purposeful compassion. Their empathy is not merely emotional absorption, it is active concern. They often become healers, guides, teachers, counselors, creators, or quiet supporters because helping others feels deeply meaningful. Yet their greatest lesson often involves learning that compassion must include themselves. A candle cannot illuminate a room forever if it never receives new wax. The strongest empath eventually learns that self-respect and compassion must grow together. The ninth trait is relentless self-reflection. Many people spend their lives examining the world while avoiding examination of themselves. The INFJ tends to look inward. Sometimes intensely, they question their motives, analyze their decisions, explore their beliefs. This inner work can feel exhausting at times, but it also fuels profound personal growth. Because transformation begins the moment a person becomes willing to understand themselves honestly. The 10th trait is intuition anchored in experience. People often describe intuition as a mysterious phenomenon, but intuition is frequently the mind recognizing patterns beneath conscious awareness. The INFJ absorbs countless details from life. Emotions, behaviors, atmospheres, subtle changes in energy. Over time, these observations create an internal guidance system that often proves remarkably accurate. Their intuition becomes less like a guess and more like a quiet conversation with accumulated wisdom. The 11th trait is their ability to endure long periods of invisible growth. Modern culture celebrates immediate results. But nature rarely works that way. The seed grows underground before anyone sees a tree. The river shapes stone through years of persistence. The INFJ often experiences growth in similar fashion. While others may not recognize their progress, they are slowly evolving beneath the surface. Learning, healing, refining, preparing. And when the visible transformation finally appears, it seems sudden only because nobody witnessed the years of hidden development. The 12th and perhaps rarest trait is their commitment to meaning. Many people spend their lives chasing achievement, approval, or comfort. The INFJ seeks something deeper, meaning, purpose, connection, a life aligned with what feels true. This search shapes every major decision. It influences relationships, careers, dreams, and personal growth. They are not satisfied merely existing. They want to understand why they exist, and that question becomes the compass guiding their journey. Perhaps this is why the INFJ empath can become such an unstoppable force, not because they dominate others, not because they seek power, not because they crave recognition. Their strength emerges from alignment. When intuition aligns with wisdom, when compassion aligns with boundaries, when vision aligns with action, when sensitivity aligns with courage, a human being becomes extraordinarily powerful. The world often celebrates the loudest voices. Yet history, relationships, and personal transformation repeatedly reveal a different truth. Some of the most powerful forces are invisible. The wind cannot be seen, yet it shapes entire landscapes. Love cannot be touched, yet it changes destinies. Meaning has no physical form, yet it gives direction to a lifetime. The INFJ empath embodies this same paradox. Soft yet resilient, quiet yet influential, sensitive yet remarkably strong, and the final revelation is this: the unstoppable force was never their empathy alone. It was their willingness to remain open-hearted in a world that constantly tempted them to close, because true strength is not becoming harder after life hurts you. True strength is keeping your depth, your compassion, your vision, and your humanity intact despite everything that tried to take them away. And there is nothing more powerful than a person who has suffered, learned, awakened, and still chooses to love the world with an open heart. One of the greatest misunderstandings in modern life is the belief that sensitivity is a weakness. From an early age, many people are taught to admire toughness, emotional distance, and the ability to remain unaffected by the world. Strength is often portrayed as the absence of feeling. The person who never cries, never hesitates, never doubts, and never reveals vulnerability is frequently celebrated as powerful. Yet life has a way of revealing a deeper truth. The people who appear strongest are not always the ones who feel the least. Often, they are the ones who feel the most and still find the courage to continue. For the INFJ empath, sensitivity is not simply an emotional trait. It is a way of experiencing reality itself. They move through life noticing details others overlook. A slight change in someone's voice, the sadness hidden behind a smile, the tension beneath a pleasant conversation, the loneliness concealed within success. While many people observe events, the INFJ often senses the emotional currents flowing beneath them. This heightened awareness can feel like both a gift and a burden. Imagine walking through a world where every human interaction carries layers of meaning. Every room has an emotional atmosphere. Every relationship contains invisible stories. Such awareness can become overwhelming. There are moments when the INFJ wishes they could simply switch it off to experience life with less intensity and fewer emotional echoes. Yet what initially feels like vulnerability often becomes the foundation of extraordinary strength. A person who feels deeply cannot remain shallow for long. They are repeatedly invited into questions that others avoid. Why do people suffer? What creates genuine happiness? Why do some wounds linger for years while others become sources of wisdom? Through these questions, the INFJ develops a depth that cannot be manufactured through external success alone. Life inevitably brings disappointment, trust is broken, expectations collapse, relationships end, dreams change shape. Every human being encounters these realities. The difference is that highly sensitive individuals often experience these moments with greater intensity. Their pain cuts deeper, but so does their understanding. Over time, something remarkable begins to happen. The INFJ learns that sensitivity does not destroy them. Instead, it teaches them. Every heartbreak reveals something about love. Every loss reveals something about attachment. Every struggle reveals something about resilience. Slowly, the very experiences that once seemed unbearable become the source of profound inner wisdom. There is a unique courage required to remain emotionally open in a world that often rewards emotional armor. It is easy to become cynical after betrayal. It is easy to stop caring after disappointment. It is easy to retreat into indifference after being misunderstood. But the INFJ possesses a rare capacity to keep searching for meaning, even when life becomes difficult. Their sensitivity allows them to connect with others in ways that transcend ordinary interaction. People often feel understood in their presence without fully knowing why. It is because genuine understanding begins with attention, and few people pay attention as deeply as they do. The quiet power hidden beneath sensitivity is not loud or dramatic. It does not seek applause. It grows slowly, like roots beneath the soil. Invisible at first, yet steadily expanding. And one day, what others once called weakness reveals itself as one of the strongest foundations a human being can possess. The ability to feel deeply without losing oneself, to remain compassionate without becoming fragile, and to carry an open heart through a complicated world. In a world that constantly encourages movement, noise, and endless connection, Solitude is often misunderstood. Many people associate being alone with loneliness, isolation, or disconnection. They fill every quiet moment with distractions, conversations, notifications, or entertainment because silence can feel uncomfortable. Silence has a strange way of revealing what we have been avoiding. It brings us face to face with our thoughts, our fears, our unanswered questions, and the parts of ourselves that cannot be heard when life becomes too loud. For the INFJ, however, solitude serves a very different purpose. It is not merely an escape from people. It is a return to themselves. The INFJ often experiences the world with extraordinary intensity. Every conversation carries emotional weight. Every interaction leaves an impression. Every environment influences their inner state in subtle ways. While others may move quickly from one experience to another, the INFJ tends to absorb far more than they immediately process. Their mind collects observations, emotions, symbols, memories, and insights throughout the day. Without periods of solitude, this accumulation can become overwhelming. Imagine a lake constantly disturbed by wind and movement. The surface remains restless, making it impossible to see what lies beneath. But when the wind settles, clarity emerges, reflections become visible, depth reveals itself. Solitude functions in much the same way for the INFJ. It allows the turbulence of daily life to settle so that deeper understanding can appear. Many people assume that growth happens only through action. They believe progress is measured by visible accomplishments, social achievements, or external milestones. Yet some of the most important transformations occur in stillness. A seed develops underground long before it breaks through the surface. A caterpillar disappears into a cocoon before becoming something entirely different. Nature repeatedly demonstrates that profound change often requires withdrawal before expansion. The INFJ instinctively understands this rhythm. When they spend time alone, they are not necessarily doing nothing. Often, they are engaged in some of the most important work a human being can undertake. They are reflecting on experiences, examining beliefs, exploring emotions, connecting patterns, searching for meaning. They are creating an internal map that helps them navigate life with greater wisdom and intention. This relationship with solitude also strengthens their independence. Because they regularly return inward, they become less dependent on external validation. They learn to trust their own perceptions rather than constantly seeking approval from others. They begin to recognize the difference between what society expects and what genuinely aligns with their values. Over time, solitude becomes more than a habit. It becomes a source of renewal. Within quiet moments, creativity awakens. Intuition becomes clearer. Emotional wounds begin to heal. Questions that once seemed impossible to answer gradually reveal their solutions. The mind untangles itself from confusion. The heart remembers what truly matters. This does not mean the INFJ rejects connection. In fact, they often crave meaningful relationships more deeply than most people. But they understand that authentic connection with others begins with connection to oneself. A person who never spends time alone can easily lose sight of their own voice beneath the expectations and opinions of the world. The strength found in solitude is subtle but profound. It is the strength of knowing who you are when nobody is watching. The strength of finding peace without constant distraction. The strength of standing firmly in your values because they were discovered through honest self-reflection. And while others may see only a quiet individual sitting alone, something powerful is taking place beneath the surface, a steady return to clarity, purpose, and inner truth. One of the most remarkable qualities of the INFJ empath is the ability to transform experiences that could have hardened them into sources of wisdom and compassion. This transformation is neither quick nor easy. It is often born through years of emotional struggle, disappointment, self-reflection, and quiet resilience. While many people see only the calm exterior, they rarely recognize the inner journey that created it. Every human being encounters pain. No one moves through life untouched by loss, rejection, misunderstanding, or heartbreak. Yet pain affects people differently. Some become guarded. Some become bitter. Some spend years carrying invisible wounds that shape every future relationship and decision. The INFJ faces the same hardships, but often experiences them with unusual depth. Because they feel intensely, their disappointments can cut deeply. A betrayal is not merely an event. It becomes a question about trust. A rejection is not simply an ending. It becomes an exploration of identity, belonging, and self-worth. This depth of feeling can be overwhelming. There are moments when the INFJ may wonder whether life would be easier if they cared less. To feel less would mean suffering less. To expect less would mean being disappointed less. To remain emotionally distant would reduce vulnerability. Yet something within them continues to resist becoming emotionally numb. Over time, they begin to discover an important truth. Pain itself is not the enemy. Unexamined pain is. When suffering is ignored, denied, or buried, it often returns in different forms. It may appear as resentment, fear, anxiety, or emotional distance, but when pain is faced honestly, something transformative becomes possible. The INFJ often possesses a natural inclination toward reflection. They seek meaning within difficult experiences. They ask difficult questions. They search not only for what happened, but for what can be learned from it. Gradually, wounds become teachers. The heartbreak that once felt unbearable reveals the importance of healthy boundaries. The loneliness that once felt isolating develops a deeper appreciation for genuine connection. The failures that once seemed devastating become lessons in resilience and self-discovery. What initially appears to be destruction often becomes reconstruction. This process creates a unique form of wisdom. It is not the wisdom found in books alone. It is the wisdom earned through lived experience. It carries humility because it understands suffering. It carries patience because it has survived uncertainty. It carries empathy because it recognizes the invisible struggles hidden within others. As wisdom grows, compassion deepens. The INFJ often develops an extraordinary ability to understand people because they understand pain. They know what it feels like to be misunderstood. They know what it feels like to doubt themselves. They know what it feels like to carry burdens that nobody else can see. Because of this, they frequently extend kindness where others offer judgment. Yet true compassion is not weakness. In fact, it requires tremendous courage. Many people mistake compassion for passive acceptance, but genuine compassion involves seeing reality clearly while still choosing understanding. It means recognizing flaws without losing sight of humanity. It means setting boundaries without abandoning kindness. It means protecting one's peace without becoming indifferent to the struggles of others. The courage of the INFJ is often quiet rather than dramatic. It appears in their willingness to remain open-hearted after disappointment. It appears in their decision to trust again after betrayal. It appears in their commitment to hope even after encountering reasons to despair. Every time they choose understanding over bitterness, growth over resentment, and love over fear, they demonstrate a strength that cannot easily be measured. What emerges from this journey is something rare, a person whose compassion is strengthened by wisdom, whose wisdom is refined by suffering, and whose courage comes not from avoiding pain, but from learning how to transform it into something meaningful. Most people move through life interacting with surfaces. They respond to words, appearances, achievements, and social roles. They see the smile and assume happiness. They hear confidence and assume certainty. They witness success and assume fulfillment. Yet beneath every visible identity exists an invisible world of thoughts, fears, dreams, regrets, and emotions that rarely reveal themselves completely. Human beings are far more complex than the masks they wear, and few individuals sense this reality as naturally as the INFJ empath. From an early age, many INFJ notice things that others overlook. They pay attention to subtle shifts in tone, fleeting facial expressions, moments of hesitation, and contradictions between what people say and what they truly feel. While others focus on the conversation itself, the INFJ often becomes aware of the emotional story unfolding beneath it. It is as though they are listening to two conversations at once, the spoken one and the silent one. This ability is not about reading minds. It is about paying attention. Most people reveal far more than they realize. A forced laugh can conceal sadness. Constant busyness can hide loneliness. Anger can mask fear. Perfectionism can cover feelings of inadequacy. The INFJ often senses these deeper realities because they understand that human behavior is rarely random. Every action, reaction, and habit is connected to something beneath the surface. This understanding changes the way they view people. Where others may rush to judgment, the INFJ often pauses to ask questions. What pain might this person be carrying? What fear is driving this behavior? What unmet need exists beneath this reaction? They understand that the loudest person in the room may be seeking validation. The most distant person may be protecting a wounded heart. The most difficult person may be fighting battles nobody else can see. Because of this perspective, they develop a rare kind of empathy. Their compassion is not based on idealizing people. It is based on understanding complexity. They recognize that every individual contains contradictions. Someone can be generous and selfish, confident and insecure, loving and fearful, often within the same day. Human beings are not simple categories. They are living paradoxes. This ability to see beneath masks often creates meaningful connections. People frequently find themselves sharing personal truths with INFJ, even when they had no intention of doing so. There is something about being genuinely seen that invites honesty. Most individuals spend much of their lives feeling misunderstood. When they encounter someone who listens deeply and notices what remains unspoken, walls begin to lower naturally. Yet this gift also carries challenges. The INFJ can sometimes see potential where others see limitations. They may recognize the goodness hidden beneath someone's defenses and become overly patient with behavior that should not be tolerated. They may spend significant energy trying to understand people who are unwilling to understand themselves. Their compassion can tempt them to carry responsibilities that do not belong to them. With maturity, however, they learn an essential lesson. Understanding someone does not require excusing harmful behavior. Empathy and boundaries can coexist. It is possible to recognize the wounds behind a person's actions while still protecting one's own well-being. As this balance develops, their insight becomes even more powerful. They learn to see clearly without becoming cynical and to remain compassionate without becoming naive. They understand that every person carries both light and shadow, strengths and weaknesses, hopes and fears. In a world where people are often judged by appearances, labels, and first impressions, the INFJ offers something increasingly rare, the willingness to look deeper. They remind us that beneath every mask is a human story waiting to be understood, and that some of the most meaningful connections in life begin the moment we stop seeing people as they appear and start seeing them as they truly are. There is a certain kind of thinking that does not stay confined to the present moment. It reaches forward quietly, almost instinctively, into what could be. While many people anchor themselves firmly in what is visible, measurable, and immediate, there are those who sense patterns unfolding beneath the surface of reality. The INFJ empath often belongs to this second category, where imagination is not escape, but perception extended into possibility. To them, life is not a fixed structure. It is a living system in motion, constantly shifting, constantly becoming. Where others may see isolated events, they often perceive continuity. A conversation today is not just a moment, it is part of a trajectory. A decision is not just a choice, it is a turning point in a larger unfolding story. This ability to connect present circumstances with future consequences creates a way of seeing the world that feels almost architectural in nature, as if reality is being quietly designed through invisible threads of cause and effect. This kind of vision is not always comfortable. It can feel heavy at times because it carries awareness of outcomes before they fully arrive. It notices where patterns are leading long before they become obvious to others. When something feels misaligned, the INFJ often senses the imbalance early. When something has the potential to grow, they often feel its direction before it manifests. This sensitivity to direction, rather than just momentary appearance, gives them a form of foresight that is difficult to explain but deeply felt. Yet visionary thinking is not only about prediction, it is also about imagination. It is the ability to picture what does not yet exist and to feel its emotional weight as though it already does. Many people dismiss imagination as fantasy, but for the INFJ, imagination often acts as a moral and emotional compass. They are drawn not just to what is, but to what could be more meaningful, more honest, more aligned with human potential. This is why they are often deeply affected by environments that feel stagnant or disconnected from purpose. They are not simply reacting to external conditions. They are sensing the gap between reality and possibility. This gap can create both inspiration and frustration. Inspiration because they can see the outline of something better. Frustration because they also see how far current behavior or systems are from that potential. Their inner world becomes a place where future possibilities are constantly being tested, refined, and emotionally experienced. Conversations are replayed not just for memory, but for meaning. Decisions are examined not just for outcome, but for alignment. Relationships are felt not only for what they are, but for what they might become if nurtured differently. This ongoing internal simulation shapes a mind that is always quietly working beyond the present frame. Over time, this way of thinking can make them feel different from those around them. While others may prioritize immediacy, efficiency, or tangible results, the INFJ often holds an invisible map of deeper intentions. They are less interested in surface-level progress and more concerned with direction. Where are things heading? What kind of future is being created through present choices? What kind of person is being shaped by these experiences? This is also where their influence often emerges, not through force, but through vision itself. When they speak, they are not always describing what is obvious. They are often pointing toward what has not yet been seen clearly by others. Sometimes this makes them misunderstood in the beginning, because vision often arrives before validation. Yet over time, what they sense internally can become something others eventually recognize externally. Visionary thinking, in its deepest form, is not about control over the future. It is about awareness of direction and responsibility toward possibility. It asks a quiet but persistent question. If change is inevitable, what kind of change are we participating in? And within that question lies a subtle but powerful strength, the ability to live not only in what the world is, but in what it might still become. There is a quiet kind of strength that does not announce itself through action or recognition, but through direction. It is not the strength of momentum alone, but the strength of meaning. Many people move through life guided by external markers of success, adjusting their path according to what is rewarded, approved, or expected. Yet there are individuals who are less driven by external validation and more drawn toward an internal question that never fully disappears. What is the purpose of all this, and does it feel true? For the INFJ empath, this question is not occasional, it is constant. It runs beneath everyday decisions like an invisible current, shaping choices in subtle but powerful ways. While others may ask what is practical, efficient, or beneficial in the short term, the INFJ often asks something deeper. Does this align with who I am becoming, and does it contribute to something that feels meaningful beyond myself? This search for meaning is not a luxury for them, it is a necessity. Without it, even success can feel empty, even achievement can feel disconnected, even relationships can feel misaligned if they lack emotional or existential depth. They are not satisfied by experiences that only fill time. They are drawn toward experiences that expand understanding, deepen awareness, or strengthen inner coherence. Because of this, their life often takes shape in a different rhythm than those around them. They may not always follow the most conventional path. They may question choices that others accept without hesitation. They may step away from opportunities that look impressive on the surface but feel hollow internally. To an outside observer, this can sometimes appear uncertain or overly cautious. But internally, it is guided by a consistent principle. Alignment matters more than appearance. Meaning, for them, is not something abstract or distant. It is something felt. It is the sense that one's actions, thoughts, and values are not in conflict with each other. When alignment exists, even simple moments carry depth. A conversation becomes significant not because of its scale, but because of its honesty. A task becomes meaningful not because of its recognition, but because of its contribution to something that feels real. Even silence can feel purposeful when it is connected to inner clarity. This orientation toward meaning also influences how they relate to suffering. When challenges arise, they rarely interpret them only as obstacles. Instead, there is often an internal search for understanding. What is this experience revealing? What is being refined within me? What truth is trying to emerge through this discomfort? This does not mean they romanticize pain, but rather that they attempt to extract insight from it, to ensure that even difficulty is not wasted in their inner world. Over time, this continual search shapes a very specific kind of resilience. It is not the resilience of ignoring emotion or pushing forward without reflection. It is the resilience of integration. Experiences are not discarded or denied. They are absorbed, examined, and woven into a larger understanding of life. Nothing is entirely meaningless because everything is potentially informative. This can make their inner world feel rich but also intense. They are rarely indifferent. Even ordinary moments can carry philosophical weight. A simple interaction can spark reflection about human nature. A passing experience can lead to deeper questions about purpose, connection, or direction. Their awareness is always slightly layered, always looking beyond the surface. Yet within this depth lies their quiet power, because when a person is guided by meaning rather than distraction, their life becomes less fragmented. Decisions begin to align. Energy is no longer scattered across competing desires, but directed toward what feels essential. Even when the path is uncertain, there is a sense of coherence that sustains them through change. In the end, their pursuit of meaning is not about finding a final answer. It is about remaining faithful to the question itself. It is about refusing to live unconsciously, refusing to disconnect from what feels true, and refusing to trade inner clarity for external approval. And in that commitment, a subtle but powerful strength emerges, the strength of a life guided not by noise, but by purpose that continues to deepen over time.